and we're going to get started. All right. Uh, Looks like a thin class today. So I'd love if you guys are here, just explain your solution in one sentence in the chat. Marketing is your business, but we also do need to get more customers. Okay. But what is marketing? What is marketing? Type that in the chat if you know. Explain your solution in one sentence or draw 25 cards. Just type in the chat so that we know what you do. And it's this is a masterclass. It's not just like a one-way chat. We're actually here live, going to work on some stuff here together. This is an experiential workshop. So this is the 5 shifts, and we're going to go into these 5 fundamental shifts that CEOs use to double their sales in 90 days, even if you don't have yet a rock star. All right, Cynthia, it's brand awareness and a way to gain global recognition. So that sounds like something, Cynthia, that you are versus something that you do. That sounds like that's the approach you would take. So this is what we want to save you from, just save you from a situation where your rebranding is not actually helping you with sales, and also that you're not getting price objections. Price objections happen when the value of what you're selling is not considered really anywhere near as high as what it should be. Tiffany sells a pay-per-click for $1,500. So don't tell me that your price is too high. You're probably selling something of huge value, and that's why you're here today, because you're just really trying to connect the value of what you're offering with your ideal customers. And we're going to jump into these 5 shifts. So the sale happens when the value offered is much greater than the price, but how do you make that happen? So what business are you in? Welcome, Brad. Type in the chat, what business are you in and where you're coming in from? Welcome, George. We're going to get started in a minute. Just want to make sure everyone is here. This is an interactive experiential event. This is my time is really, really valuable. So is yours. So let's get into this together, because if your story is not simple and clear and compelling, sadly, in today's market, you're actually just burnt toast. And the story that you're telling about your solution, your innovation, your product really has to be in alignment with your strategy. And we're going to talk about that as one of the shifts today. So powerful messages start with powerful ideas, not promos pushing promos and hype. This is what we're going to save you from spending time on branding and design. Not that branding and design isn't important, it is, but it's not enough. Is it enough? Type in the chat, Alex, Stacy, George, Cynthia, P-Tech. Is branding enough for you to get more sales? Type in the chat. I've been down by marketing too. You hire a chief marketing officer, and the first 6 months are spending with the team and talking to customers, looking at gone calls, and then the next 6 to 12 months they're designing websites and maybe sales presentations that nobody's actually using, and then they're fired after month 13. It's not just my statistics; it's true. Chief hype officers, they call. They're just making a lot of noise in the market, but we know that solution selling doesn't work anymore. We're going to talk about why. Most marketers haven't sold a thing in their lives, and this is true. And it's a sad truth. And so we're going to be talking as one of the shifts to really take more of a sales approach to marketing. So actually, one of the people on my team pulled up a report of some data on SEO descriptions of a lot of companies on this call and other companies. And I was just really shocked to see some really bad writing, like create, collaborate, communicate, commit, care. Does anybody here know what this company in Lehigh, Utah does, what they sell, what their value is? Probably not. But this is not the only one. You can really pick and choose what people are saying, what brands are saying about what they do, what problem they solve, what their solution is very confusing. It's not working. And we're going to be getting into these 5 shifts. Each of them really speak to how you can create a really compelling story that's going to allow you to get a lot more sales. All right. So welcome, Alex, George, Brad, Stacy, Cynthia. Type in the chat really where you guys are coming from. Ground rules. This is not for spectators. This is an interactive discussion. You're going to get a shit ton more value from interacting with me because than just watching this as a replay. Because actually, I don't think we're going to publish the replay. This is for action takers. Success loves speed and action, and the aha moments that you get in this experiential discussion are going to be the ones that you want to write down and act on. I've had the privilege to work with some unicorn CEOs who have made these 5 shifts, and we're going to be jumping into them shortly. In January, my book, Magnetic Messaging, is being published. How to grow sales and lead your category. Like to say a category of one, that unicorn in a market that's flooded with solutions already, and you know that your market is. So these are the 5 shifts. We're going to jump into it. There's no replay today. I think we're not going to do that. I'll be giving away at the end of this masterclass a PDF of the proven framework that has sold hundreds of millions of dollars of solutions. I'm going to give that away to you. It's also going to be in the book, but you're going to get that today. I will not pitch you today in the next 45 minutes, 40 minutes or so. I will not pitch you. I will be offering 5 CEOs who qualify, asterisk, 30 minutes free one-on-one strategy session. That's what I'll be offering. There'll be no pitching. Does that sound fair to you in this session? So give me a chat in the chat. Does that sound fair? All right. So I'm super busy. You are super busy. The purpose of this is to create value in this experience, in this conversation. And we're going to jump into that. All right. So at the end, there'll be this QR code. And also at the right of your screen, you'll see offer. You'll be able to connect there to book that session. So why is this so damn hard? Marketers that you're paying today are likely not paid to take an opposing view. I'm going to take an opposing view, and a really good salesperson that you hire is also going to take an opposing view, which means take the customer or the prospect's view who is on the fence about doing the same thing that they're doing versus spending all this money with your solution. It's hard because often marketers aren't using the right frameworks. You, as a CEO, as a leader, are stuck in the inside baseball lingo and wasting a lot of money on marketing that's doing nothing for sales. So type in a number in the chat. Are you going it alone? Type in the 3. Do you have a CMO in your corner? Do you hire marketers, agencies? Do you have these people on your team? Type it in the chat. All right, Cynthia, Jandeep, George, cool. So I know the stakes are high. I know that you take your business super seriously. That's why you're here. A lot of things you probably are experimenting with are not working, or they used to work, but they're not working anymore. So the reality is the best salesperson is not going to save you because they're just going to leave if they're having to do all that heavy lifting in the sales process. ChatGPT may help you, but it won't save you if you're not giving and programming and training ChatGPT or other AI tools the perspective, the story, the framework that is really helping you distinguish yourselves from anything else out in the market. So who am I? I'm the CEO of Pitch Kitchen, and I'm a fractional CMO as well, offering agency services underneath Pitch Kitchen with my team of 3. I have had experience of selling about $50 million worth of enterprise software and services. I have built with my team about 3,000 sales presentations and websites that have earned the businesses that we've served hundreds of millions of dollars. And we have found what works and what doesn't work. And we're going to be sharing with you today in this webinar masterclass the frameworks that are working so you can run and be awesome with them. So type in the chat, who's your ideal customer? Type in the chat. I'd like you to put your virtual arm around them in this discussion because those are the people that you're serving. Let's get a clear picture of who they are when we're diving into these 5 shifts. So type in the chat, who is your ideal customer? Who is your ideal customer? Type it in the chat. Because how well you understand your customer is really your biggest competitive advantage these days. So who is this for? This is for CEOs, hopefully like yourself, that are bringing an innovation to your customers. Looks like Jaddeep, you're bringing innovation to automotive businesses and Brad hospital systems, hopefully. And this is for CEOs who are committed to their vision. CEOs of early stage or growth stage companies, typically funded, but definitely have money to invest in sales and marketing. And that's who this is for. This is not for CEOs that do not have a viable solution or just have something up in the clouds. And I mean the real clouds, not the server clouds. CEOs who aren't committed to their vision do not have funding to grow their business. Almost like the the lottery ticket kind of CEO. This is not for you. So my promise to you, and thank you, Stacy, we can serve any industrial vertical. We cater to enterprises. So cool. Give us an example of what any industrial vertical looks like. Stacy, tech across verticals, well-funded, early stage for leadership to VP level. Cool. So here's my promise to you in the next 45 minutes: how to nail your sales message, how to turn your sales presentations into really buying conversations, why it's really game over for traditional marketing strategies that you may be working with and that ChatGPT is programmed with that doesn't work anymore, how to close more deals, and how to attract and close ideal customers without adding headcount. That's what we're going to be jumping into because I am a fractional CMO and we're an agency, so that's why that makes sense. We're going to be offering that free PDF magnetic messaging framework at the end. It's going to be a handout and it looks like this with the color pieces, giving you like a template for all those sections that you need to have on your site if you're selling a B2B innovative solution that puts it in the heroic game over context that we're going to be talking about. All right, so let's just jump in here. First, if you guys are ready and psyched to jump into this, give me a one, type of one in there. Let's just see if you're here. George, Cynthia, Jadeep, Stacy. All right, looks like it's us four, which is great. Is this you guys? All right, now you've got an amazing solution. Your customers absolutely love you and love what you're selling, but prospects just don't understand it. They have a difficult time wrapping their head around it from what you're putting out there in your proposals, on your homepage, in your sales presentation. You and your sales reps are working really, really hard explaining what your product is all about, why anybody should care. Uh, it should be a no-brainer, but it's not a no-brainer. If you're thinking to yourself, if they only knew the power of this innovation, they would buy it now. You may even have a marketer spending a lot on marketing, but it's not converting into sales. You're doing a shit ton of demos, and maybe the results are not really what you expect, even 6 months after. You have read a ton of these great books from Seth Godin to Donald Miller, Gap Selling from Keenan, The Psychology of Persuasion, another great book that I read, Never Split the Difference, how to negotiate as if your life depended on it. Who read that book? Type, give me a six in the chat, by Chris Voss. Brilliant book. So if you've read these great books, so you feel like you already know the formula, but you really, when you look at your marketing material, your presentation, your homepage, your messaging, it doesn't reflect what you know. So yeah, that is the situation. If this is you, you're in the right place for this five shifts discussion. If you got sales reps saying different things like we're the best or we're the only, and you're really afraid to invest really full on and pour gasoline on the fire, as it were, in the business because you're not 100% confident with the story that you're telling. You may be spending a lot of money on graphics and websites and social media, but what you seem to be missing from your own perspective is a single compelling story that weaves everything together, that's simple, really simple, simple. Sending proposals out, not really getting responses. Here, if your website has language like this, like take a look at a website like this. Software platform drives transparent, data-driven decisions to, I mean, really, really, like, oh my God, like, yeah, I like, I get drained just watching this. So if your website has language like this, creating innovative workflow technologies that drive, oh, brain's gonna sleep, then you are on the right place. Welcome, Kyle. Welcome, George, Brad, Stacy. If you're using language like these words, you haven't made any of these 5 shifts, that we're gonna be talking about today. And it's okay if you're guilty. It's okay. We're gonna fix this. We're gonna get this straightened out. If you get this from people, I love what you're saying, but you know what? We didn't get that at all from your website. Or, your sales deck is more like a Frankenstein, for Franken deck. And we're doing a fun masterclass at the end of October about this, by the way. So, website hasn't been updated in a couple of years. This happens, and you're always having to make excuses for it, shoving more and more data at your prospects, like ROI calculators and case studies, full feature demos, is not helping convert. So if this is you, if you're worried about how your message can be simple, you're seeing pipeline grow, but closed deals, flatline, losing deals, decisions. I've got good news. I've got really great news for you. Those are symptoms. So first of all, type in the chat. Give me a 666 if the devil sign. If you guys or you yourself are seeing some of those symptoms in the business, but I've got good news for you. George, we got a triple six there. Um, Stacy, we got a devil sign there. Oh my God, Cynthia, we got a devil sign there. So here, the real problem is that you haven't made these perspective shifts. And the only person in an organization that can make these shifts has to start at the top. The CEO, the chief storyteller needs to make these shifts in order to be successful. But once you do, you're going to have complete confidence in the money you're spending in marketing because you're going to see it turn into sales. You'll lead your category, become a category of one. Your leadership team and yourselves will be aligned, running in the right direction. Presentations that your team is delivering will be unforgettable. They'll be more like breakthrough conversations instead. And prospects that are showing up to that conversation, first conversation predisposed to buy instead of for you to have to explain a bunch of stuff to them. All right. So let's just jump into this. The first shift that you need to make is to lead an uprising. What do I mean by lead an uprising? It's a shift that you need to make. And so, are you selling an innovation? Think about it. Type in the chat here. Give me a 1 if you're selling an innovation for your industry. Kyle, what industry is it for? Type it in there. George, Stacy. So if you're selling an innovation, funeral industry. Okay, got that. That's a pretty old industry. Almost probably just as old as other industries I can think of. Like the first. Anyway, I'm thinking of a totally inappropriate thing right now, but that's the way my brain works. So what does your innovation challenge in the funeral industry, Kyle? What does it challenge? Um, Type in the chat. So if you're gonna, the first shift is leading a rebellion, leading a uprising against what? Type in the chat. Conversational commerce, patented pay to text. I don't understand what that is. So please explain. What does your innovation challenge? So if you just show up, kicking down the doors with your fancy pants solution, you're the enemy. And why are you the enemy? Because your customers that you're selling your innovation to have invested their love, their time, their passion, their money, their people, their process into the current way that they get shit done. And there you are banging down the door, talking about how awesome things can be, and they're not buying it. Am I right? So, what do you really need to lead a rebellion against? What do you need to be? So let me add some color from a different angle. The old way that you did this was by making claims, taking on the voice of an arrogant expert, the leader in so and so, making claims about why it's the best, we're the best, and here's why. The new way is works so much better, but it requires a shift from in your position, from leading a rebellion against the old way that no longer works, which is the common enemy, the common villain between you and your customer have a common villain. You're shoulder to shoulder, and you are encouraging and coaching them to talk about how the old way is dead and winners are taking this new approach. And Our product, our innovation, by the way, if you still want to call it that, and I wouldn't call it innovation if I were you, because says who? Says who? Uh, that's your interpretation of what it is you're selling. It's better to sell the new way, which is not your innovation. So every CEO from Steve Jobs down has had a contrarian ideology. What is your contrarian ideology? What are you rebelling against in your industry? Type it in the chat. In order to stand out, you got to know what you stand for. What are you telling people to stop doing? What are you telling people to start doing? What soapbox are you on? Stop selling benefits. Come on, guys. Marketing is the generous act of helping someone solve a problem, solve their problem. That's Seth Godin. So true. So, what are you rebelling against? Type it in the chat. All right. Don't, Stacy, let's hear more than just differentiating ourselves. How? By rebelling against what? This is the shift. I want you to work with me. Come on, come on. This is your time to make a real experiential breakthrough. What are you rebelling against? Here is an example of ReadyWorks. They're rebelling against the old way, which is checklists. Their innovation helps doctors and nurses spend more time with patients instead of checklists by way of smart forms. Smart forms is the new way. All right, Brad, you can shower same day as surgery, not wait 3 days. That's a benefit. um, I'm not hearing what you're rebelling against there, Brad. So go deeper. What are you rebelling against? It's a mindset. It's an approach. It's a method. What is that method that is no longer working? What are you saying, Brad, to your customers to stop doing? To stop showering for 3 days? No. What are you telling them to stop doing? So I'm not seeing in the chat here you guys making the breakthrough. So if you need help, type in the chat what you're not clear on. But this is really important. So for Azuba, turn fragmented communications into meaningful conversations. So that's a transformation story. This is great. And it speaks to the enemy, the thing that Azuba is rebelling against, which is fragmented communications. This is an example. So now that your brains are chiming along here, type in the chat. What are you leading an uprising against? What are you rebelling against? What is the villain of the story here? Which is the common enemy between you and your customer. You both share this enemy, you both are attacking it. So let's see, Kyle, rebelling against an overall aversion to technology, being helpful to funeral business. I'm telling your funeral to stop missing revenue and SEO juice. They could, okay, so stop missing revenue. So yeah, that's an outcome, stop missing revenue, but tying it to your innovation, I'm not seeing that connection just yet. So type in the chat maybe simply, what would be your telling everyone here, what are you telling your customers to stop doing? And what are you saying they should start doing? And the start shouldn't be sign on the dotted line and press hard so we can get double copies. No, no. What should they start doing from? It's the approach, it's the method or the innovation aspect, the mindset that they should be taking. So what would your TED Talk be about? It would be about this, folks. If you did, so you don't need to do a TED Talk, by the way, because nobody ever takes any action from watching a TED Talk. Okay, but people take action after watching sales presentations or working with a salesperson. They take action because the salesperson influences and coaches them on making that change. So, if you're going to lead a rebellion, I want to refer you to another great book by Dr. Michelle Mazur called The Three-Word Rebellion. She's done a ton of work on social change. And if you look at these hashtags, all of them have one thing in common. All of these are really super powerful uh, B2B as well as political hashtags. They all have a framework underpinning them. Type in the chat if you can see what is going on here. What do all of these have in common? So George, we're rebelling against traditional ways that businesses take payments from their customers. What is that traditional? What are the top three traditional ways? So be really specific. Yes, Kyle, these are action steps. So action, they're all action oriented because marketing, good marketing, and I think most marketers haven't sold anything to anybody. But if you spent any time in sales, it's about taking action. So type in the chat, what is your battle cry in 3 or 4 words? And it might be a hashtag, it might not be. But type in what yours is and also put a comma in there and say what your business is so that we have some context. Because if you look at this, trust your source doesn't mean much. But once you know that trust your source is from the Wall Street Journal, oh, I get it. Okay. It's a news information source. So they're advocating that people need to trust that source of information. All right. So individually and confidence in owning ideas. Paper bills, customers giving their payment information. Okay, that's clarification. Thank you. So hit your number is a good three-word example from Zoom Info. It's their hashtag, if you will, is not about their data. It's not about their data at all. It's about what their data does. What it's not about selling products and selling benefits. It's about selling outcomes and results. And we're talking now about this one shift, about leading a rebellion, leading a uprising, and that really is about helping your customers get over this Mount Everest journey, where on the right side, they're really acknowledging that the risk of doing nothing is greater than the risk of changing. And this is a really fundamental concept. I've turned Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm upside down to make it more about customers instead of about business. And Crossing the Chasm, from my perspective, is really helping customers. Not all of them. You got to basically ignore the people that are feeling that the risk of changing is too great, but influence and encourage the people on the other side of the curve. We'll talk about that later. So bad news, if you don't get this right, you're not really doing this right. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be tough to sell. It's going to be tough to make your numbers. Real quick, Jeff Aronson, CEO of EquipX before, very confusing marketing content, pipeline extremely thin, letting key partners down, losing deals to no decisions. This is their before website. And again, it's pretty and beautiful, but the words that they're using to tell the story was completely letting the business down. After he had made all these five shifts, tripled revenue and 6x their pipeline in just 4 months. Unbelievable results. And so grateful that the business vision is materializing. This is the after screenshot and really speaks to what their customers are, what he's rebelling against. He as a CEO is rebelling against the cost of the fleet costs of MRI machines in hospitals, very specific. And the transformation story is turning underutilized equipment into the optimized health system. So clear. So lead and uprising is the first shift you have to do. You really got to get clear on what you want folks to stop doing and start doing. If this makes sense, type in the chat, makes sense. Type in the chat, makes sense. We got Kyle, Cynthia, George, Shrikant, Brad, Patek, Angela. All right. So number two, success loves speed and action. And so let's jump into number two. Start with the problem. Start with the problem. Start with the problem. What are we talking about? Start with the problem. Why not start with your solution? As many of you here today, and we looked at those SEO, the text on all these B2B SEO sites, right? B2B sites. Why not start with your solution? Type in the chat, why not start with your solution? Here's a picture for you to chew on. Why not start with your solution? Anyone, Bueller, anyone. Why not start with your solution? Come on, Alex, Brad, Shrikant, Stacy, George, Cynthia, Kyle. Why not start with your solution? Why not start with your solutions? I'm not sure what you mean. That's actually my biggest issue. I'm not technically solving a problem. I don't know. That requires a little bit of a discussion. So here's the reason why you can't start with your solution on your homepage in your presentation. Why? Noise. We're dealing with market. Your market's probably similar to this. There's Kyle, your funeral home or funeral business is probably not the only one. You're dealing with noise and not just competitors, but existing processes. So solution marketing doesn't work anymore. And so many marketers you work with and chief marketing officers you hire are like chief hype officers, where they think that they're being paid to, splash the fireworks and run up the flag and spend your money. But it doesn't work anymore because the market is flooded. I mean, yes, maybe if you spend a gazillion dollars on an ad at the Super Bowl, you might get some business, but it's not an efficient way to spend your marketing budget, because solution marketing doesn't work anymore because it doesn't answer these three questions. Why should your customers change? Why should they change now? And why should they change with you? And when you take a more problem centric approach, you'll see that it answers those questions. So this is Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. We're flipping this upside down. So it's about the customer's risk of changing. So you're going to be dealing with prospects today where, some of those folks you just have to ignore because they believe that the risk of changing is too great. And some of those people you may need to educate, some of those folks you may need to influence, but certainly the people at the top of that curve and downwards who are already showing up to your homepage and showing up to your first conversation, where they're feeling that, what, the risk of doing nothing is too great for them, those are the folks you are actually selling to. Everyone else you're ignoring. Yes, educating influence possibly, but this is about getting focused on your ideal customer, what they're thinking, and what's at risk for them for doing nothing. Because doing nothing is really your biggest competition. It's not your competitors. It really is your customers, prospects, not doing anything different than how they're doing it today. So type in the comments below here, type in the comments, what's the number one problem your prospective customers have? So this is starting with the problem. This is a shift. And in this masterclass, I want you to get totally crystal clear, lucid on what problem, the number one problem your prospective customers have. Because this is the kind of thing that needs to bubble up on your homepage right at the top. This is the kind of thing that has to bubble up in your social media, in your proposals, everywhere, versus starting with the solution. So what does the number one problem look like? So they need more sales. So that's not a problem, by the way, Jandeep. Why is that not a problem? If somebody wants something, that's a goal. That's something in the future. Goals are future, problems are present. So if they need more sales, what does that look like presently? They don't have what now? What are they missing now? And what problem is that creating? What ripple effect is that creating that they're not having enough sales? So getting paid faster or more compliant. George, I'm sorry to say you failed the test as well. This is a tough shift to make. We're so stuck in our solutions. I get it, but George, getting paid faster or more compliant is not a problem. Getting paid faster or more compliant is a goal. So I'm being a little bit harsh here, not just because from New York, but I consider myself to be your coach in really helping you make this shift. And if you got to see the distinction between what a problem that your customers are experiencing now, what they're experiencing right now, that is going to be the thing that they don't want to wait any longer to change. Get super clear on this. So, George, cash flow. What about cash flow? It's not specific enough. It's just like saying the bridge. Oh, the bridge is a problem. What about the bridge? DevOps and BibOps need to collaborate. Again, Cynthia, love you guys, but this is really hard. So far, nobody here, and this happens a lot, nobody in this masterclass is able to type in the chat what problem your customers have, the number one problem. You're typing in goals. Need to decrease, George, need to decrease their DSO. Again, anytime you say need to do something, that's not a problem. And if you guys think I'm crazy here, type in the chat, I think you're crazy. That's fine. But the reality is that you need to describe a problem looks like uh, I have, uh, I'm overweight. A problem is my business, uh, we cannot invest in the software tools we need because we aren't closing uh, enough deals. Not closing enough deals, or we are losing our position in the market. Those are problems. Can't do something is a problem. High cost of software testing and operations. So that's a noun that's almost like saying the bridge. What you're not saying is if software testing and operations is expensive, so what? Like, why is that a problem? So you probably again think I'm crazy, but really it never ceases to baffle me how we as CEOs are so into selling our solutions that we really can't step out of that and focus on what is the problem that I can no longer live with as your customer. And the reason why they buy is because they can no longer live with what? Type in the comments. Your ideal customer, the customer that you just closed, what is that they could not live with any longer? That's the key. What could they not live with? What became untenable for them as a business to be okay with? Type that in the business. So, Alex, high cost of software testing and operations. If that was the thing, what did that look like? So, was it just one day on a Tuesday? The CEO just woke up and said, "Oh, I'm just spending too much money on software testing and operations." No, there was a trigger. There was something specific about that was they were experiencing that he could or she could not live with. Downtime, quality problems, rework. Thank you, Shrikant. You got it. Yes. High rate of secondary infections. Yes, we are getting there now. Gosh, slowing down company productivity and company competitive positioning. Yes, thank you. Guys are getting it. This is the shift. So you can't just tell people facts, about, what they should think. Facts don't change people's minds. Look at this 49 votes on LinkedIn. I put this out there. We all know this to be true. So you can't just tell people what they should think. They have to get to their own conclusions themselves. But by speaking about and empathizing with the number one problem that your customers are facing right there on your homepage, right at the top, your prospects are going to get that you get them and that they are encouraged to make that change. If it's confusing, if you're saying all sorts of gobbledygook about what your solution is like, the confused mind just says, no, I'm out. And if your website has all this information about why, you know, the innovator, the disruptor, and you're talking about your why, nobody cares about your why. Nobody cares about your company, your product, your solution. Type in the chat what your customers really care about. And this is goes into like what we're talking about here. Starting with the problem. What do your customers really care about? Type in the chat. Come on, Alex. Brad, Shrikant, Stacy, Kyle, what do your customers really, really care about? Angela Deep, Patik, George, type in the chat. What do they care about? Yes, their goals, their outcomes that hopefully your product helps them. So if you can describe their problem better than they can describe it themselves, they'll automatically think that you have the best solution. I'm going to repeat this. This is so profound. If you can describe their problem better than they can, they'll automatically believe you have the best solution because you get it, you understand it. So, we're going to go into the game over narrative piece in the second piece, but I just want to wrap up this piece here to start with the problem. Does this make sense? We're really a little bit over time here, and I really want to get this a lot faster to get to the end. But does this make sense? Type in the chat that starting with the problem is critical for empathetically connecting with your customers. All right, Kyle, yeah, dog, you're cooking. George, Cynthia. All right, number three. We're gonna go through this like double time fast. Like imagine you just hit like 2x speed on the YouTube. We're gonna go a lot faster here. So three, make your customer the hero is the third shift you need to make. So what is your homepage in love with? What is your homepage in love with? Go to your homepage right now if you want to, and just look at it with fresh eyes. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all? Sadly, most homepages are in love with themselves, their own solution. CEOs all want to make their customer the hero. That sounds great. Every marketer on planet Earth says, yeah, I can do that for you. Reality is, very few marketers actually know how to do this. And this is what your website actually looks like through the lens of your customer, your prospect, if your website is obsessed with your own innovation. And so, the hero's journey is really what you love, what we all love. We are all heroes in our own lives. And So you're actually putting up a competition when you are pretending to be the hero, when your customer's really trying to be the hero in their own life. And so your messaging voice needs to be very clearly about how you're helping them change, helping them. You're the guide, you're the advisor, the trusted advisor, offering a better way, encouraging them to make a change. That triangle before about the uprising, you have a common enemy that you're helping them with. So who's the hero on your homepage right now? And if you're using any words like this, then you are, and that's not a good deal for your customer. So here's a couple bad example, really bad example of a website that makes itself the hero. AI human interaction, creating a better world for tomorrow. Terrible. Give doctors superpowers. So this company is awesome. It's actually just an emerging unicorn, offering emotional AI to patient encounters, really huge, but it's about helping doctors deliver better services, better treatments to patients. This is another medical industry one, transforming medical healthcare delivery with pictures of brains and chips and awful stuff, just awful, awful. So the old way is how you're talking about why we're the best. The new way, how we can make you better. All right. So, if you think about what you're really selling in this way, you're selling um, uh, your solution, which is more of a means to an end. So you guys got to stop thinking that you're selling your product and think, you're selling the outcomes that your product offers. And that's really what needs to happen in the messaging here. So you do that through your copywriting, through your branding, through your messaging, through your website, where you're involving your customers in that story of change. So Webflow, the site you want without the thing you hate. Very clear. Get the user insights in hours, not days. So, these are problem focused, very simple language that creates a little curiosity at the top. Loom on, loom on, meetings off. Um, Great. It's the value of Loom here in just 4 words. Really, really good. So you don't have to put a lot of words in this. It has to do with the shift and positioning. If it's not interactive, it's not working. So this emphasizes with the problem. It emphasizes with the old way versus the new way. This is another old way versus new way, and how their customers want the new way. They want connected information. They want to say goodbye to the old way, which is spreadsheets. Very simple, very clear, really good positioning here. So as we're moving to the fourth shift, this is the offer that I have for qualified folks. If you wanted to book a free strategy session with me, that's the QR code that you can hit. All right, so Patricia, CEO of BST, before she made these shifts with a new product, new board, massive goals, couldn't differentiate, failing to book new conversations, missing sales targets. After she made these shifts, double sales rate in 3 months, unbelievable, confident with marketing spend, and very poised for acquisition. She put up actually on LinkedIn a post like this, very clear positioning post about stop throwing away ineffective, costly resources. And actually, she sent an email to me saying that within minutes of posting this, scored a huge meeting. And so that's the power of great messaging when the third shift, where you're really making your customer the hero and encouraging them to change. So if that makes sense to you, number three, type in the chat, makes sense. All right, Shrikant, Cynthia, George, Alex, Stacy. All right. I think you guys can still hear me and see me. So use the secret weapon. This is the fourth shift, and we're going to be giving out the framework, the template in this. And the template is this magnetic messaging framework. And I would say I distilled it, but I didn't invent it. I mean, when you look at the framework, you'll see that it has a game over positioning at the top, with an incitement revolution hashtag. It includes a heroic message, and the website has 10 parts to it. That all parts really need to be there because when someone hits your homepage, they're going to do a long scroll. Like they go on TikTok or Facebook for hours. They're going to hit your homepage and spend about 10 seconds doing a scroll. And in their mind is like, what does the company do? What are they selling? What problem do they solve? Do they work with folks like me? What do they want me to do? All those questions are in a few seconds rattling through their brains. And if they have to work super hard to figure out that, then they're just going to bounce. The third part of the magnetic messaging framework is a choose your own adventure sales presentation. So it's about having the right slides. And a lot of slides don't work because they're just, information that you're trying to express because your website doesn't do it. And of course, and you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So if your homepage does the heavy lifting, your sales deck really should only be about 3 to 5 slides. How many slides do you have in your deck? Type in the chat. How many slides do you currently have in your sales presentation? So on the screen here is the magnetic messaging framework. You'll see it. There's a section at the top where there's that 3-word uprising, the outcome that they want, the transformation story, who is this for, the affliction section. You're going to see all those sections there. So I see 12 of more than 30. I get it. So if your presentation is having more than 5 or 6 slides, you're probably losing a lot of deals, and you're probably sending out that as a way to communicate, and it doesn't work anymore. You want to only be sending people proposals if you have to, and then send them to your homepage. You want calls to action that are very specific, not the ones on the left, which are passive, learn more, get started. You want them like, book a demo, schedule your session, get an assessment. I call these call to values. And that's what you need as a call to action on your homepage. So this you'll see in the magnetic messaging framework are really the template that will help guide you in what sections you need to have. There would be a secondary call to action. There should only be one call to action on your homepage, really to do the thing that you want them to do. But in case they don't want to do that thing, I offer a secondary call to action, and that could be like a thought leadership piece there. And instead of putting a form on your website, which is like so 2020, it's 2023, and forms are really shitty because people type in their stuff and then you get an email and your team looks at it, and then a day later they email them back, and then you don't hear from them. And I think the stats are like 60% of people that fill out forms don't actually convert to a first meeting. And so this is a much better approach where it's a single click to date and time, and then it's on that second screen, whether hit with a type form or multiple choice. Here are a couple really good examples of homepages that use the magnetic messaging framework. This is for homeowners associations. They're offering software that really helps HOA groups work smarter. So make your HOA smarter. It's get your self-managed HOA online. It's so good, so good. Make cybersecurity simple. So good, so good. So if you don't have your homepage doing all that heavy lifting, your sales conversations will suffer, and if they suffer, your customers aren't going to buy. So to turn your presentation to a set of conversations, you need to decide what conversations you need to be having and what topics you need to be talking about. So um, a lot of sales reps would be like, oh, customer says they have a problem, and sales rep is like, well, let me sit you down and show you my 36 slides. But no, a good sales rep is going to want to have conversations about why do you want to fix this problem, and what happens if you don't fix this problem. Again, this is pointing to why people buy. Why people buy is because they don't no longer want to live with a problem. So this is an example of a really beautiful sales deck that has that 3 parts that you'll want. The first part of the conversation where you're going to be talking about and explaining and also investigating, discovering what their challenges are, as well as sharing your knowledge of some of the challenges companies just like theirs has. The second area is going to be about the solution or the thing that you're selling, and the third is the how are we going to get there. And if you dive into those 3 buckets, you'll see that each of those buckets have sub buckets, and you may not be able to have all of these conversations in one go, but you do need to touch all these bases in order to close at least a 100K deal for organizations. They need to trust you. They need to know the outcomes. They need to understand the before and afters. They need to know that you get their goals. And a lot of these conversations can happen very quickly, but these are bases that have to get touched. So you may want to screenshot this because this exists nowhere, but it will exist in the book in 2024. This is as a result of literally doing 3,000 sales presentations that have converted into hundreds of millions of dollars. These are all the conversations that enterprise deals need to have. All right. So you don't necessarily have to have slides for these, but you need to have conversations for those. These are a couple visual examples of what some slides could look like. And they're, as you can see, they're beginning to look like websites, because if you can get the content on a password protected or even just a homepage, then you may not even need to have a slide like this. You can really have a conversation where it's on your customer's homepage. So if I'm going too fast here, let me know, but these is what you need to do. This is the secret weapon, a magnetic messaging framework that has these three pieces. All right. So are you guys still with me? Should we get into the last one? Give me a 1 in the chat if you're here. If I'm going too fast, let me know. George, Cynthia, Stacy, Brad. All right. So the last one, the last shift you need to make, and I say you CEOs make, they invest in outside expert help. And so Buzz Lightyear was stuck in the box saying things like whatever Buzz was saying, but it was that shocking moment when Buzz realized that he was one of a gazillion. And that's the thing that really happens. And so when you're inside the box, it's really hard to see how customers see you, and hiring an expert from the outside that actually knows nothing about you and your industry, perhaps sometimes even works better. So here's an example. Masood actually hired us uh, because they were very frustrated. Sales were declining. 30 demos to one sale. Oh my gosh, awful. Like I feel like, gagging on that. Large sales team turnover. Great salespeople were leaving and anxious about limited financial runway. And he actually hired me. I knew nothing about Kubernetes, or like, what is Kubernetes? I know everything about it now, but about backup and recovery. He actually said that he's hiring me and Pitch Kitchen because we knew nothing about it, and they needed a total makeover. They were selling to the wrong people. Their deals were really small. They needed a really fresh look. And afterwards, we were actually able to do this by focusing on the game-changing approach that Trilio is taking, the different approach, which is about intelligent recovery, and not just backup and recovery, but intelligent recovery. And this single clarity of the story was allowing this company to triple their at bats, double their win rate in 2 months, and new salespeople that were just getting trained up were actually closing deals. So it's a testament to hiring an outside expert that may not know everything that you know at first about your industry, but they learn fast. So if you don't hire an outside expert, you may struggle to do this alone. Your marketers aren't paid to take an opposing view. They're just going to write happy horse shit, as a lot of marketers do, or ChatGPT is happy to write happy horse shit for you. They'll go back and forth between good opinions, solution-driven idea pool. You'll get stuck in that, and you'll waste time and people on demos that don't close. So I have had the privilege of working in many different industries with these unicorn CEOs, and I would suggest that do not hire a marketer. I hate marketing. Most marketing is terrible. I would say hire a sales enabler, someone that really is helping you sell through the right story, the right positioning. So this is what you need to win. In recapping, you got to, one, lead an uprising, start with the problem. You need to make your customer the hero. That makes you the guide and the trusted advisor. You need to use the secret weapon, which is the magnetic messaging framework that pulls all this together, and invest in expert outside help. So, wow, we're nearly at time. Now you have a choice. You can go it alone, or you can get help. If you snap this QR code, you can book a time in the Calendly. But this is not offered to everybody. I actually have some personal shocking news to share with you. I'm not only running a business here, Pitch Kitchen, with 3 people on my team. I am having a baby on this weekend. That's right, it's my second child in my second marriage, and I'm super excited. I am just beyond the moon. and excited about this. So my time is extremely limited. I'm only be working about 2 to 3 days a week till Thanksgiving, but I am offering this to qualified folks. So if you want to book a call, we would get clear on the gap between where you are, where you want to be. We decide what to do about it and get a game plan to get that done. So that's what I've set aside for you guys here. It's absolutely free, and if you qualify, let me put up on the screen here the handout. So in the handout, you should see on the upper right-hand portion of the screen, download now. Just give me a one in the chat if you are able to download the PDF of the magnetic messaging framework. And that will really help you. That's going to be in the book and where I'm going to go into it in more detail. But here in the webinar, we just gave a quick overview of what that is. So if you qualify, this is for you. Um, the qualification is do not book if you don't have a viable product, if you aren't committed to your vision. If you're really okay with where your business is, this is not for you. If you aren't challenging the status quo, the magnetic messaging framework is ideal for businesses that are selling an innovation. And many of you said that you are. If you can't or won't invest time and money in your business, please do not book because I'm investing time and money in my business. And I sure as hope the CEOs that we work with are doing the same because that's what's needed. Um, all right. So with that, do you guys have any questions or any comments? Which one of those five shifts uh, do you think is the one that you want to act on? Really, the one that connected with you in this experiential discussion? Which one of those? I'll put them back on the screen for you. Let's see. Yeah, which here are the five. Which one was the most powerful for you? Brad, Shrikant, Stacy, Alex, George, Patek, Jaydeep, Angela. Which one? All five are needed. Cynthia, two and three. Jaydeep, make your customer the hero. Absolutely. Yeah, they're all five shifts needed. And I think in this session today, my takeaway was that it really is hard. When we did that exercise of, type in the number one problem that your customers have, wasn't it surprising to you as well to see how difficult it is to actually type out what the problem is? Really put yourself in your customer's position and empathize with that problem instead of staying on your side of the fence, which is about your solution. So that was really shocking to me to see that today. Shocking again, but I do see this again and again because it's hard. It's a perspective shift. And that's where number five comes in. When you work with an outside expert, they help you pull out the insights and the gold that you have about the problems that your customers have and get that crystallized and in your messaging, on your homepage, in your proposal, in your LinkedIn messages, in your marketing and branding and all of your stuff in the leaflets that you throw out of helicopters. So with that, we're going to wrap up in just a minute. I want to just say I am really honored to be here with you guys. That I do this because I'm passionate about fixing the wrongs in marketing. Marketing has done me wrong, and I'm sure it's done you wrong too. And I am delighted to help CEOs really right size the ship and make sure that they are able to bring their innovation to help their customers thrive. That's what I do, and that's what you do. So I would hope. So with that, I'm signing off. I want to thank you guys for being here. I hope you got value from this discussion and hope you get value from the magnetic messaging framework. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up. Godspeed and please wish me luck. I won't get sleep this weekend, but wish me luck. Thank you, Cynthia. Awesome. 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 Shrikant, George, Cynthia, Jadeep. Awesome. Take care, guys.